it is about time to get this headliner taken care of. You can see it's drooping drastically, as I've showed in previous videos. So I am gonna start pulling some of this molding out around each side, because that has to come down, and then the two lights and the one up at the very front, along with the visors, have to all come off. And then in theory, this will just slip out the back here. Okay, so I just pulled this piece off up at the very front that was already missing the light. I am unashamedly naive when it comes to this kind of stuff, but I'm kind of thinking I maybe just found something illegal, been hanging around in my Jeep. Yeah, I'm not sure what those are. It's kind of suspicious though. As you can see, I've got the headliner out. Overall, the original backing pad doesn't look like it's in too bad a shape. Should be very reusable. And the flag, it's just still on there because there's still a couple pins holding it in. But it's my understanding that a flag is supposed to go a specific direction, and it seems like this one was opposite of what it should be as far as where the stars were on the passenger side. So if the underside of this flag isn't in too bad a shape, doesn't have any stains or anything on it, I think I will swap that over. Before I try to use some adhesive to put the flag back on, I decided to give it a once over with a vacuum, just in case there's any loose particles, to keep it from getting good adhesion. And I started in this corner right here, and you can see the difference. That's when I decided I better video this. Let me show you firsthand what's going on here. Yeah, it's pretty obvious that's pretty dirty right there. That's all just like soft, fuzzy stuff. So anyway, I'll vacuum this whole thing, and then I'm gonna grab my adhesive and come up to this corner where this thing's fallen off. I'm gonna see if I can put a squirt in these two areas and get that to somewhat stick back on, and then it'll be on with the flag. That is much better. Much cleaner. These spots up here that have some leftover residue, I believe that's glue residue from the first headliner. But yeah, the rest of this cleaned up very nice. So I'm gonna get a little adhesive on some of these spots that are kind of flipping up, get those sealed back down, and yeah, then we'll get the flag on. Okay, I've just done a test fit because I am reversing the direction of the flag so that the stars are over the driver instead of over the passenger. I don't know that it's that important, but my understanding of how to put flags on, American flags on things, is that it goes a certain direction, and it's all a matter of perspective, what direction you look at it, which one's right. But this is what will be the correct direction to me. So just making sure that the holes still line up, and they should line up just right. So I'm going to start with some adhesive around this top hole, and then down to the center, and then I'm going to run that line down to the rear. I'm going to get all those lined up, and then I'm going to go little by little move it towards the outside, probably the full length, a section at a time, and see if I can get it to get good flat adhesion. So I'll turn the camera on for some of this. May not record the whole thing. So I'm using just automotive headliner adhesive from Permatex. This is good stuff. It's kind of like a spray-on rubber cement kind of stuff, which is nice because if you get it on your hands, once it dries, you can see I've got a little on my finger right there. Once that dries, that's just gonna peel and rub off. So give the bottle a good shake and then we'll get to it. Gonna give that just a minute to tack up. All right, should have a pretty good line down the middle now. So I'm gonna roll the bottom side up here and do maybe about 2 stripes worth at a time. And lay it back down, work it out to this outside, and then do the same thing for the top. Bring it back in at that point. Okay, the light has faded on me. It's on the verge of being dark, but I did get all of the surface done. And I'm overall quite pleased with how it went. Couple little ripples. As I said before, I'm not too concerned about that because that will give it kind of a wave effect almost, making it a little more realistic, so that's not going to bother me. The one thing that is a little annoying is that in both corners, the holes for the sun visors didn't line up. So this one should be back right here. This one's closer than the other one. But they lined up when I did the dry fit, but not when I put it down. So anyway, nothing to lose sleep over. I'm gonna let this cure overnight in the garage where it's a little bit warmer, and tomorrow should be able to maybe hit the back side just a little bit to get the wrap around on this end, which is the rear. I may trim off 4 or 5 inches and then wrap it after that. But overall, I'm quite pleased. I think it's going to look awesome, and it's going to be a big improvement from when it was drooping down and touching your head. Okay, I've got the sides wrapped around a good inch or so. It's a beautiful warm day, about 70 degrees is what the weather report said. Definitely the warmest day I've been aware of this year. So it tacked up really quickly, and then I trimmed it up, trimmed off all the excess, and we're ready to put this thing back in. Here it is, headliner reinstalled. I don't have all the trim back up on the sides just yet, but that's what the headliner looks like without drooping all over the place. That's going to be tons better. So it's been about 2 months since I got the headliner put in, and you can see it's drooping down. I have a couple of theories. I think it's about 3 things that are contributing to it. I don't know that it's any one specifically. I think it's maybe a combination of the 3, but number 1, it started getting warmer right after I got it. We've been, for the last couple 2-3 weeks, we've been in the mid 80s to upper 80s, pushing 90, and it did start to droop as the temperature started to rise. So that's one potential issue. Number 2, when I did it, I sprayed the headliner, but I did not spray the flag. And I don't know how much of a difference that would have made. You know, they do recommend that you spray both surfaces and then they tack to each other. But I really think what makes the most sense to me is that this flag is nylon. And I don't think nylon is the best fabric for good adhesion. And so that, I think, is the number 1 reason that it's all drooping down. Now, it's not drooping quite as bad as it was before, because I think I got the sides tighter, and then the lights down the middle have kept the middle together, but you can see the rest of it's clearly drooping. So I looked for some new material. Polyester flags are more expensive than I wanted to spend for a headliner. They are a minimum of about $35. Most of them were up around $60, especially for one that's this size. But I did find a blanket that is a fleece type of feel, but the material is polyester. And so it's nice and vibrant. It came in the mail today. I'm leaving tomorrow for our trip to with my nephew to go do Black Bear Pass and Imogene Pass and some stuff around that area, Colorado. And so I'm gonna see if I can get the new one in tonight so that we don't have this flopping over our heads for the next couple of days. So anyway, that's where we're at. Gonna pull it out here for a second time, and hopefully this time will go a little bit better. It was dark last night when I finished getting the headliner in, so I opted to wait till this morning to show it to you. Start to finish, it was about a 3-hour job. That includes taking it out and getting it all the way back in. You can see so far it's holding, and yeah, it feels like it's got a pretty good tack on it. So hopefully this new kind of fleece-like material will have a little more grab to it. But we'll see. It's not particularly hot today. It's actually quite nice and some cloud cover. So we'll see as it gets hot if it continues to hold. But so far, so good. Headliner, round 3. This time I'm pretty sure it's the adhesive that failed, so I'm back to the Pentex headliner adhesive. And what I'm going to do differently this time is I'm going to coat the headliner and the flag. So I'm going to get both sides, hopefully get that double tack. This one held up okay, a little bit better than the first time. So I do think that this material is a lot better for adhesion. I just don't think that the Gorilla Glue spray adhesive is really made for this type of thing, and I just don't think that it did its job. So I'm gonna pull it out. This the last time I'm gonna give it a go. If this doesn't work, then I'm gonna come up with some other alternative. I don't know what that is yet, but this is the last time that I'm planning to deal with this. Anyway, let's start pulling trim, and I do probably need to pull this spare tire to have room to get it down and out properly. So let's do it. All right, so to clear the record, the Gorilla Glue really did well in certain places. That middle strip right there, which is where I started, is actually really well secured. So I've elected to leave it from that end and just do the sides and work my way out. And then also the edges, where all the trim was holding things up, was also very well secured. In fact, there were places that I actually pulled, like you can see right there, pulled fibers out of the blanket, pulling it off. So the Gorilla Glue seems to be good stuff. It's unfortunate that in these large middle sections that it didn't hold. I'm hoping that this headliner adhesive by Pentex, by Permatex. Permatex is what it is. I'm hoping that that will do a better job if I coat, as I said before, the backer and the flag for best adhesion. So that's the step I'm at. All right, fingers crossed that third time's the charm. It's on there. Just a quick note, this can of Permatex headliner adhesive that I got, even though it is identical in appearance to the one that I got from Amazon, this one I got at O'Reilly's locally, it had a completely different spray pattern, and it seemed like it was tackier out of the gate than that first can. So that gives me some hope. That may be a total coincidence. I'm not throwing shade at Permatex quality control or Amazon for the same reason. It's just something to note that I observed. I'm gonna give this a little more time in this position to let kind of the weight of the flag hopefully create a little pressure and get a little better adhesion. So I'm not gonna be quite so much in a hurry to throw it right back in. So I'm gonna let this sit for a little bit, and I may just move it over to the black trailer over here and let it sit overnight. Might not be a bad idea. My only concern with that is that I live at the mouth of a canyon, and overnight we tend to get some fairly decently strong winds. And so I don't want it to like catch a wind gust, and it's getting more and more fragile as I handle it. And so it's only good for maybe another time or two out. I'm afraid wind might advance that process. So that's my hesitation on that, but I kind of would like to leave it out to cure before I manhandle it back into place. So I'll think on that for a minute, but that's where we're at. And I'll come back in a little bit later. Decision is made. I'm gonna leave it out. I think that my wall right here will reduce any wind gusts enough to keep it safe. I've got my spare tire under it in the middle to kind of keep it up. And when the sun comes up in the morning, it hits this area. I think that could really help the curing process for it to go through a cycle with some sunlight in this position. So I'm gonna leave it with that in mind, and we'll come back tomorrow and put it back in tomorrow evening. Let's wrap this one up. It's been about a week since I fixed the headliner, and I haven't driven the Jeep yet, but it has been sitting out in the sun in 90+ degree weather pushing 100 on some days. Today is supposed to get over 100, and it's been sitting out here for that amount of time. There's no droops in pretty much anywhere. The corners, sides are all looking good, and I really think that this time I got it. So some of the differences, I think, from the first times, the headliner adhesive that I used was the same as the first time, but something I did different is that I did coat both sides rather than just the headliner. I think that really helped. And then secondly, I do think the material of the headliner made a big difference. So the nylon material of the previous flag, I just don't know how receptive that was to the adhesive, whereas this kind of this is more of a blanket type of thing, kind of a fleece. It is polyester, but it has, you know, these fibers that kind of stick down, and I think they make for some really good adhesion. They didn't work very well with the Gorilla Glue that I tried, but it was a different texture and consistency from the headliner specific adhesive, which was more of like a spray-on rubber cement type of stuff. So I think the combination of the appropriate adhesive and the appropriate material has finally solved this issue. So I'm very happy about that. That project I am calling officially done.